That wasn't funny. People and governments started to worry. Biologists and laboratories who had already started to investigate the phenomenon made it their #1 project. The television comics quit joking about it after one crack on the subject by the top comedian in the country drew 875,480 indignant letters and lost him his contract. On September 29th, out of a normal number of births in the United States, only 41 were boys. Investigation proved that every one of these was a late or delayed birth. It became obvious that no male child had been conceived during the latter part of December of the previous year, 1961. By this time, of course, it was known that the same condition prevailed everywhere. In the countries of the Eastern Alliance as well as in the United States, and in every other country and area of the world, among the Eskimos, the Ubangi, and the Indians of Tierra del Fuego. The strange phenomenon, whatever it was, affected human beings only, however. Births among animals, wild or domesticated, showed the usual ratio of the two sexes. Work on both space stations continued, but talk of war, and incidents tending to lead to war, diminished. The human race had something new, something less immediate but in the long run far worse to worry about. Despite the apparent inevitability of war, few people thought that it would completely end the human race. A complete lack of male children definitely would. Very, very definitely. And for once, something was happening that the United States could not blame on the Eastern Alliance and vice versa. The Orient, China and India in particular, suffered more perhaps than the Occident, for in those countries male offspring are of supreme emotional importance to parents. There were riots in both China and India, very bloody ones, until the people realized that they didn't know whom or what they were rioting against and sank back into miserable passivity. In the more advanced countries, laboratories went on 24-hour shifts, and anyone who knew a gene from a chromosome could command his weight in paper currency for looking, however futilely, through a microscope. Accredited biologists and geneticists became more important than presidents and dictators. But they accomplished no more than the cults which sprang up everywhere, though mostly in California, and which blamed what was happening on everything from a conspiracy of the elders of Zion to, with unusually good sense, an invasion from space, and advocated everything from vegetarianism to, again with unusually good sense, a revival of phallic worship. Despite scientists and cults, despite riots and resignation, not a single male child was born anywhere in the world during the month of December 1962. There had been isolated instances, all quite late births, during October and November. January of 1963 again drew a blank. Not that everyone qualified wasn't trying. Except, perhaps, the one person who was slated to do more than anyone else, well, almost anyone else, about the matter. Not that Captain Raymond F. Carmody, USSF, retired, was a misogynist, exactly. He liked women well enough, both in the abstract and in the concrete. But he'd been badly jilted once, and it had cured him of any desire whatsoever for marriage. Marriage aside, he took women as he found them, and he had no trouble finding them. For one thing, don't let the word retired fool you. In the space service, rocket pilots are retired at the ripe old age of 25. The recklessness, reaction speed, and stamina of youth are much more important than experience. The trick in riding a rocket is not to do anything in particular. It's to be tough enough to stay alive and sane until you get there. Technicians do the brain work, and the only controls are braking rockets to help you get down in one piece when you land. Reaction speed is of more importance than experience in managing them. Neither speed nor experience helps if you've gone batty en route from spending days on end in the equivalent of a coffin, or if you haven't what it takes not to die in a good landing. And a good landing is one that you can walk away from after you've recovered consciousness. That's why Ray Carmody, at 27, was a retired rocket pilot. Aside from test flights on and near Earth, he'd made one successful flight to the moon with